kings and queens gather up. Every day we push our luck in a world of allegations, miscommunications, and rushed retaliations. We lack patience, it's like we stuck. Kings and queens gather up. We're royalty. Nigga, they bow down to us now. It's time to pull our luck out, baby. Our black ain't cracked. We got shea butter on our backs and hot meals in our laps, and the power lives in us now. It's time to level up now. I admit I'm just like you, working on a dream, trying to figure out what to do. It's true. It's a flow of thoughts in an ocean crystal blue, and some of us can't swim. It's time to build around the water. And I see I'm bothered at the amount of sons and daughters who never had a father. It's time to work harder. Mama, stop calling your baby stupid. He just 10 years old. You gon' have his heart cold by the age of 13. Repeating the past, it seems. We gotta move better. This is more than a letter of introduction. Our culture is gonna face repercussions. There's too many people doing nothing. We gotta build our own now. They ain't gonna give it to you. Nobody knows what's living in you. Can't nobody read your mind, and life can't rewind. What's your project? Draw this shit up on a board in the projects. Write it in a planner while you waiting on a class, and study your business plans like the answers to a math test. It's abstract. How we just started 2020. The Rona's taking over, we quarantining in the city. Save that $1,000, you better invest that money. Ain't shit funny. Protect your elders in the setup. Keep your heads up and pay your debts up. Perfect your craft. If you wanna be strapped, then stay strapped. Fear in this situation gon' have you end up in this trap. Buying all this tissue like wiping your ass don't fix the issue. What's your issue? Watch the news, they giving us clues, so you choose.
All right, everybody, welcome back and welcome to our first episode. iMind, Afromations, iMind. We have a wonderful show here where we try to come together with different minds in a respectful forum to present to you guys different viewpoints so that you guys could choose for yourself. And on this panel, we have, I'm going to start with the first person I see on here, Wusaf Sepshuba. He is, what's up, brother? How you doing, brother? You got to unmute yourself, brother. Can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself, brother.
Wasuf Shepsube is how it's pronounced.
Sorry.
How are you all doing, brothers?
And
All right.
awesome. We got our other brother, Emotep Abkibalon. How you doing, brother?
Oh, good. Thank you for the invitation. You may see Frederick on here. My wife uses the Google account, and that's her father. But my name is Imhotep Al-Kabalon. I'm minister of Wose Community Church.
Thank you for joining us today, this evening. And we also have a great member of Sacramento community, Aurel David. What's up, my brother? Shalom.
Shalom.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for participating and being willing to be open-minded with us. And last but not least, we have Bakari. What's up, Bakari? Can't hear you, brother. You got that expensive microphone. You got to make it work. You got to take it off mute, brother. Still can't hear you, brother.
All right. Is it off now?
It is off.
Great. It's gone. Hey, thanks a lot for inviting me on with the Black Humanists and Non-Believers of Sacramento and do a lot of education activist work. So it's great to be on here with you, brothers. Really great. Looking forward to the conversation.
Wonderful. And since, and for our audience members, we will post, we have focused questions and that we're going to try to tailor our conversation around. With that said, and so you'll see the questions posed on your screen. And for those people on YouTube, go ahead and feel free to enter in those comments or questions, and we'll be glad to administer them in the conversation as we can. This is our first time doing it. I don't have a engineer, so I'm the one who is fumbling through this, and with my support of my brothers, we're all doing this collectively. As a hand comes together, it's that fist, that spade, which the spade represents a leaf of the tree of life, and we're all leaves of a bigger tree, and it's the cosmos that comes into us, and it's up to us with the power of what we do with what we got. So belief or not belief, that's kind of the metaphor. And since Bakari, since you kind of put it out there that you're part of the Black atheists and so forth, and how does your belief? And we're gonna get to the first question. How does your belief impact your worldviews if you do believe or don't believe? And why do and why don't you believe? If you can give us a quick summation and introduction of yourself to our audience, we appreciate that.
Okay, well, basically, I do believe in humanity. So I believe in my brothers and sisters. I believe that we are in this universe, and we're just a little spot out here in the universe, and we have to take care of one another. And we all that we have. And I believe that the power of nature is very powerful. It has delivered us. But I don't believe that there is some external being, a transcendent being, that directs everything. I don't believe that. I don't see any evidence for that. I don't see a necessity for that. So I just feel like that we have to depend on one another, learn how to respect one another, and that's very difficult to do.
Okay, and how do you think that this change in yourself has changed your worldviews, or has impacted your life, or has improved your life?
It's made me more. I try to think more critically, more rationally, more politically. I'm more of a materialist. Not to say that there's not some kind of energy going on through life. I don't know how to explain the energy that goes through life. Maybe physics can explain that better than me. But it does make me think more critically. It makes me question everything, and makes me a lifelong learner. That's what I do. I try to learn. If I don't know something, I say I don't know, and if I have time, I'll investigate. So that's how it's done that.
I really appreciate that answer. Does any other participant want to go ahead and kind of introduce yourself to the audience in our first show to explain how does your belief or non-belief impact your worldviews, and why you believe or why you don't believe, or how you became to believe or not to believe?
I'd like to go next.
Yes, sir.
So let me just start out with brief our belief statement. We'll say community church is a community of the way. The way is Ma'at, truth, justice, and righteousness. We believe in the teachings of our ancestors and elders that the Creator God created the universe and all life in it, and placed in each of us a part of the divine spirit. God living in us and through us has given us the right and power to establish peace and justice throughout all human life, true harmony with all of creation. We believe in the living faith of our ancestors. Our way is not merely a ritual belief. Our way is a way of life. Our way is not a random path. It begins with coherent understanding. It aims at preserving a knowledge of who we are. And it is with this conviction that we study the rich heritage of the African people. The way is reciprocity. The way is wholeness. The way is unity and self-determination. It is creativity and faith. Our way knows no oppression. Our way creates. Our way worships and praises the God of our ancestors. The way is the way of life. The way only destroys destruction. So that's our belief statement. As to the question, how does your belief in fact impact your worldview? Coming from an African-centered perspective, we view the world as the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey had posed in the 20s to view the world through the spectacles of Ethiopia. So we view the world in terms of how it relates to black people. You know, where are we in this picture? And so that's how we approach life, and that's how. And we're actually more seekers than believers, because I think when you say use the word believers, you know, you've already concretized and you can't necessarily grow. This is with all due respect to the panel and those that are listening. But when you're a seeker, you're expanding all the time. Just think, at one point when you were one age, you believed one way, and as you got older, your uh, your horizons, your knowledge, your wisdom, your overstanding expanded. So that's the way that we approach life and view of the world.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much for that. David Orrell, I don't know where you are, but it seems as if your camera is off, and I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I just want to make sure everything was good. I really appreciate your answer, Minister Imhotep. Thank you. Any other brother want to go next? Wasuf Orel.
I mean, I can go. It's my turn.
Go for it, brother.
So, I mean, I can't really have the time to explain exactly why. We can do another couple hours on that, on the why factor. I can just give like a brief synopsis. I didn't grow up religious. I grew up in a secular family in Israel, as modern as I guess any Israeli is. But I can say I didn't. Okay, so I didn't grow up religious, but there was in some point of my life, even though you don't grow up religious in Israel, because of the understanding that you come from a Jewish origin, or you are surrounded in a Jewish lifestyle. You might not be a religious Jew, but just the fact that you live in a society that it might not be like a theocratical society, but the fact that it's a Jewish state and everything around it. So you grow up in an environment that, yeah, you might not be a practicing Jew, but you are Jewish. So all the kids go to bar mitzvah. You don't mix meat and milk. You don't eat pork. You keep kosher in the house, and also outside of the house. You don't really. There is no. It's a cultural Judaism that you grow up with, even though you might not be as practicing. But that culture affected you later in life, or at least me affected me later in life, to understand that this is really that this is the way. This is what I need. This is what I need to do. This is how I need to live my life, and it only gave me benefits. So it changed my worldview in a way that it gave me meaning in life, way more meaning in life than I had growing up just as a regular secular guy in Israel. And why? I think that's another hour and a half just on the why factor. But I can say, yeah, it changed my life, and the way that it impacts my life is that basically everything I do throughout day to day, I do because I believe that this is how it needs to be done. So from waking up in the morning and saying thank you God for returning my soul to me, to when I go to sleep at night and I say Shema Israel. So, and just everything, the way I eat, the way I take a bath, how I am with my wife, everything. You know, it's hard to we can go on what is a Jewish lifestyle, and that would be another hour. So
Yeah, I know there's a lot that we could talk about on that, and it's interesting how there's a
So yeah,
culture.
it affects everything I do, from how I think to how I eat to how I talk to people and relationships, everything.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very. I would like to dive into that further in the future. What's that?
That's as short as I can make it.
And I know you got a lot of wisdom and understanding to share with us, and I look forward to tapping into you as a resource to explore these subjects. And you come from a worldview, especially around the Levant and everything. You have a good experience with that, and so I look forward to tapping into your wealth of knowledge and information and your perspective. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And I hope to tap into that further. And I know there's a lot to go into that. You have a lot of studies behind you, as well as every individual here does too. So thank you, sir. Wasuf, what's up? What's up, brother?
How we doing?
Doing good, man. I would like to get into the conversation and just introduce the audience about obviously how does your belief impact your worldviews, and why do you believe or not believe?
Well, definitely my impact affects my worldview because it gives me a lens in order to be able to see the world and interpret the world. Now, my personal belief is very much related to Minister Imhotep because he's a person that we fellowship in the same spiritual practice. The only thing that I would add is my experience with learning other Kemetic beliefs vis-a-vis the tree of life and using that to support the phenomena that I experience in the world and the limits of my humanity. So that's pretty much.
That's interesting. That we talk about. And this could be we could probably make this first question multiple podcasts and so forth, but that's interesting because we had another panelist who was Christian who decided not to come on here for various reasons, and I was like to look at different faiths and different beliefs and stuff, and it's interesting when we talk. We have some of us may have prejudice towards a religion or a preference towards one another, how we view things, and it's interesting. I would comment on how individuals use religion or particular books, or that those are the paradigms in which they view the world. And so, with like Bakari, I know he's focused on science and how and focusing on making decisions and making thinking rational, and sometimes even just beliefs and how that could take us into irrational connections, or going different directions. And sometimes having a belief system keeps us more from being swayed, or practices that keeps us from being swayed or moved around, like Aurel was talking about. From the way he does certain things, there's a systematic way he does things, and there's a benefit from that. So it's really great that we have such a diverse perspective on here. And and so please unmute your mics, and let's go ahead and let's get into this, the current events, guys. I mean, we just went through some serious stuff in our society, and I think all of us feel it differently depending on what side of the aisle you are on, or in the middle. But overall, what does this new president mean to you? And just kind of focusing on recovering from the election at where we're at today on November 19th, 2020 at 6 o'clock. So let's go ahead and talk briefly about that. Let's open it up and have a conversation, because I've got some things to say, and I'm pretty sure you guys do too. Don't be shy now.
Well, I think that so the question is, what does a new president mean to me and society? Well, I'd like to go back a couple of presidents. So I was very excited when Barack Obama was the president, or was running for president. I'd never seen such a display of people come out for a president, and I would watch, when he would talk at rallies, and I would see, just the overwhelming numbers of people coming, and I liked that he had an African American wife, and it was a beautiful family, and it was just really a cool brother, and I think the backlash from him, an African American being in the White House, uh, catapulted the present day president. Now, before I leave, the first Barack Obama, he did some things that I didn't like. For instance, I didn't like what went down with Libya, and when he's asked, who is the what is the worst mistake that you've made? That's what he will mention. But by um, by ousting Gaddafi, it launched slavery in Libya and in Africa. So, um, uh, despite all of the good things he may have done, that really, I mean, that you know, it's a blotch, it's a stain. But the fact that he was an African American caused the present president to be in office, and I think by him coming in, it exposed a lot of things. It exposed a lot of hypocrisy, and you know,
True that.
I think one of your questions later on deals with the economy. I mean, it's the highest deficit that we've ever had.
And you make a good point, though. You make a good point.
My question is, what does he have to do to make 73 million people not follow him? Does he have to come before Congress, pull his pants down, bend over, and say, "Kiss my posterior female dog"?
Wow.
What does he have? What would he have to do?
We've already seen that. We've already seen this, Emotep. It doesn't matter what he does. They still it's not about policy, it's about ideology. And I like the point that you make about, like I was saying earlier in the green room, we know who those individuals are. We got facial recognition technology. We know who those individuals are. Fox News has a lot to try to catch up on. And, and so I agree with you on a lot of the senses, and I want to get other people in here. You bring up Libya, and I think that's a very good point. And the other brothers chime in here. Aurel, you have a international.
Excuse me, Nehester, can I just say, okay, I have, Malcolm told us that the Democrats are political foxes, the Republican are political wolves. Both belong to the dog family. So, Biden is more is going to be more cunning, but I think the results ultimately and unfortunately will be the same.
Thank you for that. You bring up a good point, and we're still talking about the same question. I wanted to get to Aurel because you bring up something. He has more experience or living in that region than we do, and I didn't know if he might want to chime in on this and jump in since you bring up Libya and so forth. And
I would like to answer. I don't know the answer, but let me just talk about slavery in Libya. Barack Obama didn't bring slavery back to Libya. Slavery always existed in Libya. Libya is a tribal country. It's not really a country. The entire region of North Africa, they're not really countries. They're not really countries in the understanding of the European mind of what a country really is. It's basically some Europeans that defeated the Ottoman Empire, drew a line anywhere above the Sahara, and decided that this will be a country. And there's a country in Africa called Mauritania, and Mauritania's biggest export every year is slaves to all over the world. In Israel, we had a problem up to I would say as much as 2006, that the Bedouins in the southern part of Israel were keep on buying and bringing and smuggling in slaves from South Sudan, and Israeli police used to capture it all the time. And Israel is a first world country, but because we have Bedouin tribes that live in the southern part of Israel, and they live like this is the wild, wild west over there. Slavery culture exists also over there. So that was I think 2006. This has nothing to do with Barack Obama. Barack Obama made many mistakes by leaving the more modern, more progressive countries in the Middle East to the Islamists, but that's a different debate. Libya was just an extreme case that NATO just intervened and killed it, even though that's against NATO treaty, because NATO is only to protect a NATO sovereign country against an attack. And I don't remember Gaddafi attacking any NATO country. He was just having a fight, a feud with his own people. So that's one thing about Libya. I think that if you look at who liked Barack Obama in the Middle East, okay, Barack Obama meant different things to America than he meant to people all over the world. The European, some of them liked him, some of them disliked him. The far right in Europe, the one that resist Islam, didn't like him because he basically his first act in the Middle East was to speak in the Islamic University in Cairo, and that was perceived as a betrayal throughout all the Middle East because the Muslim Brotherhood is, I would say, it's like going to a Klan rally for some of the forces in the Middle East, seeing a United States president speaking in the Islamic University in Cairo. That was a shock to everybody. But that's a move that he chose to make, and that's okay.
So bring it forward. Bring us forward.
To different people in the world.
So
I think that Biden is basically the same. I don't see any difference between Biden policies and Barack Obama. I think that we might even see Obama pulling the strings on Biden, or maybe even getting a place in his cabinet. I mean, he was his boss, so who's to say he's not gonna be there actively even. So it might be an Obama 2.0 regime. I think that Obama for America was actually good. If I would say for the sanity of the United States of America, I think that he was the fact that he was elected president, broke that glass ceiling. If I can say,
you did. You already said it.
That racial
It's out.
glass ceiling. And I think that his policies was extremely progressive and led to a certain path that a lot of people didn't like. I think his economic policies was bad. And in the end of the day, in America, it's all about the economy. So
because we're a capitalistic society.
yeah, I mean, it's actually most of the world.
Yeah.
But just most of the world has other things also. Like
Right.
people like money all over the world, but they also don't want their head to separate from their shoulders.
That part.
That happens a lot. So I think I don't know. We'll see if Trump can pull it off legally or constitutionally, whatever he's trying to do, and he's successful to stay as president. Majority of the world, majority of the places where I come from, Israel and all the modern countries in the Middle East would appreciate that because he did a lot of goodness over there. There was a lot of division in America because of him. I think Americans don't really care about what happens in other places of the world unless they have a connection there. So
unless you're making money there.
It means different things.
Okay, I appreciate that.
America means something totally different to a person in Saudi Arabia or Israel or Egypt or Iran even. It just means different things. So I would say as an Israeli and also a person who lives in America and has a family in America, I don't know. If it's Biden, it's basically Obama 2.0. If Trump stays, we'll see how he does with the economy because in the end of the day,
Yeah. I think one of the main things that
catastrophe here. People gonna start losing houses and businesses and stuff like that. And
right.
it's all about the money. Yeah, now people need to live, and we need to give them money to live.
I appreciate that, and I think that's something that we see, and I think see here what we see in America, and I really appreciate the world viewpoint and looking at those and bringing up those countries. And I think what we see here, and majority, most of us here are of melanation, however you want to identify yourself. But in America, I think we felt a big divide socially, and I think that was a big rub. And hopefully people are looking for. You had what's his name cry on CNN. I thought that was ridiculous that Biden won. So
why he didn't cry for Obama?
I don't know.
Obama was a more emotional. Election.
Yeah, but I was talking about the newscaster cried when he. Yeah, you know what I'm talking
he didn't
about.
Cry when Obama won.
No, he didn't. I don't know, man. That's some. See, that's the thing we're gonna get into. We're willing to talk about Stockholm syndrome, and we're about to talk about it because this is a lot of what we're talking about is African American, quote unquote African American, Moorish or indigenous based. So you really appreciate your insights and bringing that into helping our audience to look broader, look wider. And I really appreciate that. You have a lot, man. You have a lot of wealth there. And I would like to get some other people in on. Does anyone want to bounce off some ideas of what he said or answer directly to the question, or add on to something that he said? Because I think there's some really good points being made between Imhotep and Aurel.
I'll just speak on it. Kind of agree with some things that Aurel said. I think I didn't. And I don't say this proudly, but I didn't vote for Obama because I read about Obama before he became Obama, the president, or even the candidate, and there was nothing that was progressive in his agenda. I followed his campaign; there was nothing progressive there. I used a lot of slogans that the Democratic Party still uses today. He didn't have any policies that were progressive. He was speaking of at the time. Same thing with Biden. Biden ran a campaign with no progressive policies at all. And if he had them, he didn't talk about them that much. I don't expect too much more than like Aurel said, than what Obama did. Matter of fact, Obama escalated wars even more than Bush. He maintained the wars in Afghanistan. He did not pull out enough troops in Iraq, which led to wars in Syria. Obama had the opportunity to really bring about Medicare for all. He didn't do that in his first term. I'm not saying that Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act wasn't useful, but it could have went a lot further. And he didn't do that because I think he's a neoliberal. Democratic Party is led by a bunch of neoliberals. Second thing is that people have to understand is that in 2008 we saw the largest transfer of wealth to the rich class in 2008, and we saw it again in 2020 at the outset of the coronavirus and the pandemic. This is a large transfer of wealth, and people don't understand what that means in terms of the economy. So one is sense of this. So capitalism is a problem, but it's also the ability of the government to insert wealth into the economy, but that wealth largely goes to already wealthy people and wealthy corporations. So so we know this, and so that's what Biden represents. That's what Obama represents. People may not really have a lot of. They may or may not like Bernie Sanders, but I voted for him because of his policy agenda. Not to say that it would solve everything, but I thought that he would change a lot of the political direction of this country, even though it still would have been a challenge. But the fact that Obama in the Democratic elite came to undermine a popular movement that Bernie Sanders kind of led or represented speaks volumes about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Imhotep was correct. There's no difference between the too, and we need to understand that. And if we look at it from the ontological point of view, we're looking at a people's class versus a non-people's class, the anti-people's class. And most of the Democratic Party, including um, the vice president pick, um, she's in the anti-people's class. She's not a progressive. She is essentially a cop, and it's just not surprising that they put her up there. She didn't win any votes in her own state, and so this says a lot about the Democratic Party that they can't even defeat a thug like Trump. I want to hear more about what Orel says about it in terms of how he's perceived in other parts of the world. So maybe I was plead ignorance and not knowing enough about how he's perceived there, but he is a danger to humanity. This man has to go. Quite frankly, he should be dead. And I'm just saying, I'm not sure if we can say that on the podcast. And I'm not saying I'm killing him, but I'm just saying he is a thug. And he's somebody that he's against humanity. He's a part of the oligarchy. He's a part of the rich class. He's undermined any movement toward dealing with the environment. He's a threat to democracy. He's undermined that, and their entire Republican Party has done that, as well as Democratic Party. They've undermined democracy, and so we have to understand what we're losing here. Particularly, again, in 2020, you saw the largest transfer of wealth in the history of America. We need to understand really what that means.
Anybody else? Well, Sue, if you ever said nothing on this point, you can go to the next question or chime off or bounce off anybody's ideas that was recently said.
I agree with the brother, the Israeli American, that it's that Biden's going to be continuing some of Obama's policies. And I'm just concerned about where African Americans can gain ground that we've lost, in this pregnancy, not presidency, excuse me, and just see what we can influence, and that's about it. I mean, the heavy lifting was voting him into office, and I'd like to see. I want to know if Kamala, comes in the community and if she plays the role of interpreting, and directing how we should function, because I think it's just, to me, it's that, and it's good theater to me. That's about all I can say on the subject.
Yeah, that's So Orel,
Yes.
my Israeli American friend. That's funny how Wasu said that. That was just funny. I love this group. Great conversation. So Bakari was interested, and I am also interested in looking at. Bakari says he's a threat to humanity. He's a threat to the environment. And from your perspective, and being still in touch with the Mediterranean area, Israel, how accurate do you see that statement being applied to different parts of the world?
So we have a saying in Israel. To translate it correctly would be, show me who your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And when Biden got elected right now, the only people that were happy were Iran, Hamas, the PLO, Fatah, Hezbollah, Assad, all the mass murderers of the past decade. And then you see who's not happy, Israel and all the Gulf countries besides Qatar, because Qatar is something different.
Yeah, it is. Got the oil.
She's a different entity in the world down there. And basically everybody else that has an interest in the stability of the world. Um, Everybody that China was happy that Biden got elected. I think Russia is happy. So if that's the people that are happy, then I'm not happy. If they're happy that he got elected, uh, we have to understand. And I'm just gonna say it. Let me just put it like this. Do you guys know what happened in 9/11?
I mean, I have some idea. That's a conspiracy
What
theories.
does America know about 9/11?
Depends.
No, let's ask a question. What,
Okay.
what is 9/11? What happened in 9/11? What everybody knows about 9/11 in America?
The World Trade Centers.
Leave the YouTube videos.
Oh, the World Trade Centers came down. Supposedly could have been inside deal. The buildings fell apart. The economy.
But okay, why 9/11? Why not 9/12 or 9/10?
Oh God, there's a lot of numerology within that gematria, right?
No.
What's up?
9/11 was the date that the Muslim soldiers that were about to occupy Europe lost the Battle of Vienna.
Oh.
That was the date that basically Islam stopped its expansion into Europe by the Christians, Catholics back then. They stopped Christianity, basically prevented Islam into spreading into Europe, even though it already spread throughout the Middle East and North Africa. And 9/11 was the defeat of the Muslim invading army, and basically the loss of the start of the loss of Eastern Europe that was by then occupied by Islam. Um, Bulgaria, for example, is a country that was an Islamic country. There's a lot of areas in the entire Mediterranean that were Islamic areas that are now Christian, but then that was 9/11. 9/11 was the defeat of Islam. I would say 1,000 years ago, something like that. There was a famous battle that happened, and Muslim armies were stopped in the gates of Vienna on September 11th. The fact is that people in America, or the Christian people today, don't know that date, or it's not a significant date for Christianity, which America is a Christian country, is a Protestant country. It's something that shows you the difference of how people everywhere else in the world perceive the world. So, for the Muslims, especially the Muslims that attacked the United States on 9/11, 9/11 was a significant date for them. They wanted to continue the war that they lost 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. So that was what wasn't that war was what 911 or was it 1683? What year?
There was some war when they expanded. I want to say it was in the 1600s when
Yeah.
they tried to breach towards Vienna and they couldn't. And in 9/11 they got defeated. September 11th. It was a famous battle. I don't remember the name exactly, but we studied that when I was a kid in school. So I'm just trying to give a point here that other people in the world live their history on live their history like it is happening right now versus Western society tries to kind of forget their history or tries to kind of move on, and they don't see or they don't have a perception of the long term future of actions that you do right now. For example, um, the whole Iran thing with Obama, that he signed the nuclear agreement with them. The fact is that you go to a country that Iran as a Persian culture been in existence for maybe 3,000 years, right? 20 something hundred years for the Persian Empire, and you come to a people like that and you tell them we're going to make an agreement for 10 years or 15 years years or whatever, and you will stop your nuclear program, they will stop it because what 10 years for them? They've already been here for 2,500 years. But for an American mind, 10 years is a long time. In 10 years, I might switch 2, 3 jobs by then. Most places in the world don't work like that. Most people in the world don't think like that. Because most people in the world, they think long. Versus in America or the American culture, everybody thinks very short. We can talk also about that, why that happening. But I think that in that region, when everybody think long, it was a shock that that a country like America was, the leader, the good cop, or whatever, will make an agreement with a country that a decade for them is nothing, but that their ultimate goal is to, take over that entire region and spread their ideology and commit mass genocide to to everybody there that is not them. And I think that Americans also don't understand cultural nuances, that exist all over the world. That that might be also one of the biggest problems in America. And I don't see. I mean, I don't see. I don't see how you can teach it to an American. There is an American culture war. There is an American cultural differences, but the rest of the world is not. It's something that is beyond rationale of what's going on when it comes to your culture and my culture, and the fight that people have against each other, and that Americans don't understand that. And I think Obama understood it perfectly. That's why he was way smarter than what people gave him credit for. He was way more savvy. He knew exactly what to do to trigger those elements because maybe he saw them as a better solution. I don't know exactly why, but
can I speak?
Yeah, go for it, brother.
So, it's a very interesting perspective that you have, Orel. I don't agree. I think that time that Obama went and spoke in Egypt, he pointed out what happened with Mossadegh, and he also pointed out that the reason why the Iran is like it is because it was a democratic country. It had a leader that said, "Okay, let me finish. let me finish, okay."
when was it a democracy?
Hold on, let him finish. Let him finish, David.
Mossadegh was a person, that whatever you think about the Persian people, that was their leader, and then the United States and Great Britain overtook him and put in the Shah of Iran, who was a brutal dictator, and then it swung a whole different pendulum, and then you got the Ayatollahs coming in. Obama pointed that out in that speech. I don't agree with a lot of things that he did per se, but he was a beloved person around the world, not just the countries that you mentioned. But I think it gets us off the topic because Trump. Well, actually, you know what? We have to go all the way back to Reagan.
Oh.
You gotta go to Carter.
Reagan.
Carter brought the Ayatollahs to
Let me finish. Hey, brother. Let me finish. Reagan changed us from being the largest creditor nation to the largest debtor nation. And that's what Trump has done. Trump has raised the deficit. I mean, the numbers, you can't even fathom the numbers that he's done. And I'm coming, like I said, I'm looking at things through the spectacles of Ethiopia, which means I'm looking at them through the spectacles of a black person. So when I see what went on in Libya, okay, yeah, I know I know there's slavery all around the world, but Gaddafi was keeping that down. Okay, many African leaders loved Gaddafi, and as soon as he was killed, the Arabs who many of us think love us showed us what they thought of us,
I'm still doing it.
and still
they're not one people. That's what I'm trying to understand.
My thing is, look, Libya, Iran would be a different place had the United States not intervened in them in 19, I think it was 1956. And then, since you mentioned 9/11, we don't know what happened in 9/11. Why did the building 7 fall and no planes hit it? They want us to believe that some guys got on a plane, you know, all the things that went into doing that. Got on the plane with some box cutters and took these planes. I don't believe anything of the official story of 9/11. How can you? And then the people that were supposed to have done it, you find that they're alive in Saudi Arabia. And then what did we do? We, instead of attacking Saudi Arabia, we went in and attacked Iraq.
Afghanistan.
Iraq.
Iraq, yeah.
Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, Osama bin Laden, the bin Laden family worked with the Bushes. We had
Oil business.
A president and a vice president who were oil men.
And their sons. Bakari, chime in here, Bakari.
About this subject, and so I understand you have your perspective, and I respect that, but I don't agree with much.
No, it's okay. That's why I said there is a different perception in other areas of the world of things that happening in America. An American will see things in his own way, but there is other people in the world that looking at America right now and all the time because of the power that America has, and they perceive it completely different. That's the only thing I said, is that people in certain areas in the world, they just see things differently. That's all I said. 9/11 for me is, and for Arabs and for the Islamic world, is totally different what it means to an American. Like you said, Building 7, we don't know about Building 7.
Yeah, exactly. How did that fall?
We know about Vienna, and for us, that's the connection. Vienna is 9/11.
Okay,
The
Bakari.
Twin Towers is just a continuation of that. For you, it's Building 7. I understand. I just don't know what happened there, but that's all I try to say.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
It's a different outlook.
I appreciate you pointing out that history, and that's the point that I'm going to have to look up, because I am familiar with the Moorish invasion in 7/11 into Spain, Portugal, and southern France, and them being there for 700 years. And
that's on the other side of Europe. That's on the.
They kind of control a lot of parts of the Mediterranean and Algeria.
And the Moors came in and was occupying Europe in various places for 700 years, and then around 1491 they were kicked out.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I appreciate you pointing out.
Oh yeah.
The significance of the date 9/11, and it just gives me something to do further research on.
That's what we're here for. We're here to build. You know what I mean? Bakari, you wanted to get in there. I love the dialogue. Bakari, what's up, man? You had your hand up there.
I was just going to say I appreciate the fact that Oriole's point that we can't view everything from American imperialist point of view, right? So I definitely want to hear his perspective on that, and I'm like Imhotep, I need to research that. But I think that we can have different views, but we must struggle for the truth. I mean, it's like we can't. And I'm not saying, when I say we, I'm not just saying we brothers here in this discussion, but it's healthy to have these discussions and to do the study and to think critically so that we can arrive at the truth. Because just us saying, well, I got a different perspective, that doesn't solve anything. That just, you're going to hold on to your perspective, I'm going to hold on to my perspective. But something got to be true here.
Well,
Okay? I mean, we can't just do that.
I hear what you're saying, and I do like we're going for the truth. And as I continue, and as I think you have done in your life, is continue to look for the truth. You know, a lot of times it's about perception and what truth is. Oftentimes, and there's some truths that might not be fundamental. And I think that you're exactly right. We need to get down to facts to break down the nuts and boils of this, and not just have different perspectives. But oftentimes I see that, you know, like, and I think David really pointed out is that in different areas, truth is different to somebody else because they're impacted by the events that took place from them. So their truth is different, and I don't think it negates the individual's truth who experiences something in a different location. You know what I mean? And I think that I love what you're saying about looking at the facts, and Emotep talking about let's dig deep into let me get deeper into this. And I like the build that we bring in here. You know, and that's a great thing about the truth. You know, I don't know what the heck the truth is. I mean, are we ever going to come to a truth? Because does truth need a consensus? If truth needs a consensus, then, you know, we're never going to come to that. We're never going to find a truth.
So I'm not trying to say I'm not saying there's an emphatic truth about everything. I'm saying there are some political issues, right? That if we look, say we look at 9/11, we never investigated what happened enough to arrive at the questions that people have. You know, Imhotep raised some good questions. Orel raised some questions I never even knew about. So we never investigated that. So that doesn't mean so. Even though from an Israeli perspective or Afghani perspective or American perspective, we may have a different view about that event. But there's some things that truthfully happened, and there's some things that did not truthfully happen. And we have to investigate that and say this truthfully happened and it did not truthfully happen. And that takes time. It's not going to be. It's not. It's not McDonald's. It's not going to happen. In 2 minutes. That doesn't happen like that. It's not instant.
Right.
And so, it takes time. It may take another 100 years. But I mean, the fact of it is that we have to keep raising questions and not just settle on what we're being told. Because we're all.
So, since we talked about, I really love the conversation. Since we talked about America, we talked about different perspectives, and I love it, Bakari. We talked about different perspectives. And the majority of us on here are, from this region, and you live in this region too. And you also, David, you also have, African American, Black, Moorish, Ethiopian, whatever terminology people want to use to identify us or she's Jewish for sure. But she's raised in America. She has darker skin complexion. You have beautiful children, and so I know you have an insight on quote unquote Black America because Black, from what I gather, is a status that has been superimposed upon people who come from a different backgrounds who have been stripped of their nationality inheritance. So I'm gonna use Black in the American sense, okay? So no offense to your wife and your wife's and your family's identity. Is that good? Okay, I'm just saying, I'm trying to be politically correct and everything with everybody because I love everybody, I respect everybody. I also want to highlight that, that David also has a family that is, that also has African American blood in his family too. So, in looking at that different perspectives, and he brings up that what is truth, but bring it back to America and what and how this affects us with the truth and perspective. I'm looking at and Emotep brings up how Republicans or Democrats, it doesn't matter. We're still getting played according to him. So in looking at moving forward. And there's been things on the table for the California, I forgot the Senate bill trying to get reparations for Black folks. And I want to switch the topic to looking at black folks in looking at this political climate and worldview of things. And because I still, when we talk about Libya and so forth and Islam, I'm really frustrated that those are the individuals who are still enslaving people. They're still enslaving Africans, North Africans, and they call us crickets. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people don't realize that with a lot of the Orel says that there's that the Arabs are not all the same, but there's some similarities in there that I know are there, and I'm frustrated that there's still slaves within that, and it's supported supposedly from some of my Muslim brothers that it's okay to do that with the slavery and so forth because they choose their Islam over their phenotypical type. So bringing it all back that we are superimposed with a certain identity and title stripped of our nationality, which I'm gonna say that is a black nation now, and it's started to get rights and protected rights within the United States. We had, it's just what it is, regardless of some of my other brothers from previous podcasts. So, should the black nation, the black people here in America, receive differentiated treatment from those atrocities within, looking at things in switching from our first subject in overseas and different perspectives, trying to tie it in to what's relevant to the black nation, the black people, the Moors here, the indigenous people here in America. Should there be a treatment and so should there be differentiated treatment and is there anything going to change within our political environment from what understood as policies are concerned and how we're viewed worldwide?
I think we're already receiving differentiated treatment. I mean, we're already ever since we've been here, man. Is this a trick question? I mean,
it just wasn't a well thought out question, brother.
Some kind of affirmative action, like a global affirmative action within America or something like that.
Yeah, I could have stated that question a lot better.
I come from the Francis Welsing perspective on that, and that is that people who classify themselves as white are trying to prevent genetic annihilation. And so they are doing all of these different things to make sure that there are still some white people left on the planet. So that's why we have all of these different things. I mean, they make calculations by such and such a time. There's not going to be any blue-eyed people. By such and such a time, there's no. We're not worried about that. But they
did it with the redheads.
And so, say again.
They say up to 2020 there are not going to be any redheads.
Yeah, oh wow.
Yeah. So there's no African scientists that are thinking about that. But Europeans are okay. All right.
Come on, brother. Keep on talking, man. Go ahead. Europeans what? I'm just throwing up some graphics.
It's just okay. Dr. Welsing says in her press theory of color confrontation, she wrote this in 1969, that the people, because of a fear of white genetic annihilation, this is why we have all these problems directed at people of color, but most severely people that are classified as African or black or whatever name that we have because we're all over the world, all over the planet, and this is what's happening. So we are receiving differentiated treatment badly, and in order for us to receive differentiated treatment in a good way, we have to practice that among ourselves. We have to practice that unity among ourselves in order to achieve the things that we would like in terms of anyway. I mean, if you look at school, you have to be able to go upside the bully's head when he's coming at you. And so we need to put ourselves in a position not to do that. She also uses the example of the chessboard. And the object of chess is really to checkmate the black
It's all
king.
good. That's all good.
You know, and right now, whatever square we're on, we're in check. You know, so we have to decide how what's the best strategy to keep from getting out of check, because we're playing. And my sons would ask me when I taught them how to play chess. They said, Dad, well, why does white always move first? And I say, because white always attacks first. You know, and so they're playing offense defense, and we're playing defense offense.
Woo!
I know that's extreme.
I don't think it's as extreme as you think.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The person that works in the prison system, so I'm also a chaplain in Folsom Prison, right? So I've been there for 5 years, and I think there's definitely problems, and I can say coming from Israel, when we have European Jews and Middle Eastern Jews, and Middle Eastern Jews were suffered tremendously under the European Jews almost until now. There's a lot to talk about that also, but there is racial problems. I think, for example, the question of reparations for descendants of slaves came recently in California. That's something that I think should happen. The same as descendants of people from the Holocaust receive reparations from Germany, and that's something that just the countries have to pay for what they did. So slavery should be paid for in some fashion, but I think the problem is there is no such thing as um, as a black community in America. There are people that are
just neighborhoods
as African descent, but there's people that are African Americans. There's people that are slave descents, but there is no just one community. Like people from California, and they're not the same people as African Americans from New York or from Idaho or from Texas or from. I mean, it's not just a one. I think every region have its own specific, um, sometimes correlating issues, but there is the overall issues of racism, institutional racism. How does that happen in and everything? But there is also the specific problem in each and every community that need to be addressed specifically. We can say me, for example, coming, working in the prison, um, seeing that 50% of black people in the prison come from one county in California, right? They all come LA County. And about the rest of them coming from three other counties, right? Alameda County and Sacramento County. So what's going on in that county that filled up 50% or almost all of the African Americans in the prison system in California? Something must be going on there. That people can get ahead and can get away from the circle of violence, and um, is it the criminal laws, right? Is it all kind of issues that are specific to those areas? I think that like problems that are in LA is not necessarily the same problems that we have in Sacramento. They might be similar, but not exactly the same, and the solution would be different. But it's just an overall subject that needs to be addressed somehow. Uh, Politicians doing, I can say again, working in the system, working in the prison, even have to follow up on some of the things that Kamala Harris did when she was Attorney General. That she was just, some of the stuff that she did to inmates, like preventing from 3,000 inmates to test their DNA evidence that the police had that would have led to their acquittal didn't happen, and she prevented that. That's some kind of, I would say, a black oppression. That you have majority or a lot of black people in the prison, and you have a way to alleviate some of them by proving that they're innocent via DNA, and you're preventing that as an attorney general. Um, I think she, she didn't represent anything progressive about that, but I don't know. I think there is a lot of issues, and reparations is one of them. I think reparations should happen, but I think there's also other issues within every community. Like if you go to Detroit and where is it? Other areas in Michigan, like Dearborn and stuff like that, when they have a lot of Somalis, there might be black, but they have their own, African Somali culture over there, and they have their own gangs over there. We saw that Al Shabaab started in Africa, so a bunch of young men decided to leave Michigan and go back to Africa and fight for Al Shabaab. So there's issues. There is many issues. I think majority of the issues are political. There's a lot of power to police officers in America. The laws are vaguely um, to the benefit of law enforcement versus the benefit of the actual people. And because blacks and Hispanics and other and minority groups in general are getting more scrutinized by police, by different law enforcement, we see bigger discrimination against them. And I think that's the problem. I think the problem is mainly political. And people, try to say it's cultural, but that's, you know, everybody got a weird, different culture when you look at it from the outside. But the problem is extremely, the way that I see it from working in the prison, is extremely political. It's politicians that push laws that give more power to law enforcement and and the criminal justice system that then therefore oppress communities that are more scrutinized. In California, that would be black and brown. In Idaho, it would be poor whites. In Wyoming, it would be Native Americans. So I think it's just one.
Is that a Christian based thing? Do you think that is a Christian? You're a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant thing, and then it just happens to spill over into other Caucasian or white individuals.
You know what? I don't know. I think it's. I mean, you have a lot of politicians, in a state like California that are very progressive, and you have a lot of ethnicity representation within the political powers in California. But when you look at some of the laws in California, they're, the worst laws for certain communities, and it becomes devastating for a specific community. So you should ask yourself, how come? Like, why would you go to, my brother-in-law went to Texas, and he was telling me that there is huge neighborhoods, almost city-sized neighborhoods with houses that worth $2-3 million, and they're all African American neighborhoods outside Dallas and outside Houston and Austin and places like that, and all African American neighborhoods, and everybody there is either in high tech or a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or some sort of, I don't know, some successful super upper middle class person in huge city-sized neighborhoods um, that are all African American. But when you look at California, you don't have neighborhoods like that in California. California is way more quote unquote democratic and progressive than Texas. So, what's the problem there? So obviously, again, seeing the prison system and seeing how the criminal justice system treat minorities, it's completely political because politicians pass laws. I would see a white person coming to the prison with 3 murders, and he will barely get life in prison. Well, I see a black kid that was 19 years old, and his friend shot the gun, and he will get life without possibility of parole at 19. So,
do you think that a lot of times
the overall effect on the community around him,
right,
is devastating?
And a lot of people, coming from a Moorish paradigm, which tends to believe brothers are we're captured by, we're prisoners of war. and it's just the Punic War spilled over to the United States. They think a lot of those brothers think just because we're new, like I said earlier, that we've been labeled black, and the way that black has been a title of something that they had to create a 14th Amendment, so forth, all that. Some people speculate that that's the reason why black people don't have any rights and so forth. And but the thing is, we also, but then also again, those individuals who have the money tend to get away with murder too, And I love what you're saying, and I just want to interrupt real quick, my brother, is because I know Emotep is said he has to go in a few, and I want to give him before he goes, we can continue the conversation. I would like to give him an opportunity to get his some last blows or words in there, because we're going to do this again probably in a couple of weeks. We can still communicate in our text thread or whatever, and about coming up and ideas that are things that we want to talk about and kind of compile that together. But brother Emotep, before you roll out of here, what's your thoughts?
I appreciate everyone that's here in the panel, and I've enjoyed the discussion. I apologize if sometimes I get a little excited.
Yeah, ain't nobody here worry about that. You good?
Yeah. So
you good? You solid.
I'm again from the Francis Welsing's perspective, but I want to look at 1965. There was the Watts riots, and then they had this commission. It was called the Kern Commission, and what came out of that commission is that they said the young black male, 15 to 25, is the dynamite, is the powder keg in our communities, and we need to do something about that. And then there were always drugs in the African American community, but after that, drugs became to be dumped in overwhelming numbers. And then when we look at the case of Ricky Ross, who worked with the Contras to introduce crack cocaine into African American communities, and these give the excuse for people to do what we do. And if we compare conversely, since we don't know who we are, we don't know our history, we don't know other people's history, we do not see that when we make derogatory records and call each other out of our names and disrespect our women, and then that becomes a culture. And this is the culture that leads us to Folsom, Quentin, Soledad, Pelican Bay, and all these other places. This is not this is by design. Somebody has designed this because they fear genetic annihilation.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I had to plug my thing. Yeah, I agree.
I sound simplistic, but that's I mean, you can always, for me, always bring it back to that. It's always, and now look, you got a opioid epidemic, and what is it? It's a health crisis now. And why? Because the majority of people are not classified as white. I mean, are classified as
yeah. And I think that's one big point too, is because even in the 60s, 50s, 30s, there's always either white woman, if anything, is the one who has been the first coke users and have been suppressed within their own households, and they're the ones that go. You see all these movies, you see a lot of shows coming out, and how the white woman's role has been at home, and they were drinking and and the opioid crisis is really starting to come out, and they were some of the biggest drug addicts that we know of, and we don't have rehabilitation for somebody smoking weed. We have criminal lawsuits for that, jail time. Well, we have rehabilitation for other crimes. I agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm glad it seems that Burrell is a righteous person. I'm glad that such a righteous person is in the criminal justice system, and I'm hoping that he lives a righteous life in there towards our people. And unfortunately, he has to see some of the worst things, in society.
We can do a whole podcast about that.
Oh yeah,
Let's do it.
I want to be involved. Yeah. I'm sorry, brothers. Can I just be personal for a minute? I had deep root cleaning on my mouth, and I haven't eaten all day. So I'm going to go get a bite to eat before I go to bed. Thank you. Good to see you, Brother Bakari. Oral, nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you too.
And Nahesu, thank you for inviting me. And I see Wasuf has signed off, but I just want to say, Wasuf lost his father less than a week ago. His father was 94, and the services are going to be on Monday, the 23rd, at Thompson Funeral Home. So, he has that, and then his mother-in-law got rushed to the hospital. So I'm surprised that he was even able to make it today. Anyway, I hope I didn't put out their business, but
that's all love.
All right, one love, one heart, one redemption.
Yeah. No, that's one love. Yeah, we're coming close to our end of our time. We've got a few. Yes, thank you, brother. Till next time.
My kids also need to go to bed.
Yeah, mine too. I want to spend some time with my kids, and and we can close out with some.
How do I sign off here?
You don't. You stay on.
Okay.
I really love what we're talking about. Peace out, my brother. I'm gonna have to kick you off, man. Go get something to eat, man. But I really love the conversations that we're having and the dialogue, and we didn't get to one of the things I wanted to talk about, and we could always do it next time. And we plan on continuing these dialogues and conversations, like you said, about the prison systems. I would love to learn more. And I've got some resources to get some people on. I know the superintendent of the prison system. I work with his wife or his ex-wife. And I was going to have him on a podcast at one time before, and I had to go through a lot of documentation just to get him on. And I was like, man, you're making this too hard for me. But, but one of the things before we go is, it looks like history repeats itself in the periods of time. And, and so we talked about a little bit about history and repeating ourselves. And like Aurel was talking about, we see the United States as Americans have a really interesting concept of time versus other entities. Other entities, like even the Rothschilds, let's just say, they have a family plan to continue their overall agenda. And so generationally, so we look at religious organizations. The Catholic Church has this thing. So so we're going to go ahead and sign off here in the next, make it quick and short. So if there's any last comments or anything else you guys would like to say, and then we can continue later on through other dialogue to find out more about the podcast. So, and also don't forget to share your podcast too.
We should do this more.
We're going to.
Maybe in a different time so we can have more time. We all are, me and you, we have young kids. So.
I told you all a long time ago, man. No, maybe we'll start at 6 o'clock and then we could be better and then we could get our kids to bed by.
Maybe a little earlier so we'll have more time to have any more elaborate discussions with everybody.
Yeah.
I had a good time. Thank you.
Okay. And you also have a podcast. Would you like to guide your members to?
Called the Unapolog Jew.
The Unapolog Jew?
Facebook page, Facebook/Unapolog Jew. And on YouTube you can find Unapolog Jew, or you can just Google my name, Orel David.
Unapologetic?
Unapolog Jew. A Jew. G-E-W.
I know Jew, but on Apollo, I don't know what you're saying.
On Apollo Jew, like unapologetic, but instead of unapologetic, you end it with a Jew.
Let me see. Yeah, you guys. Well, anyways, I see stuff that's popping up that I don't even know, so I can't spell it right. But yeah, so check him out on Facebook, and you can put that in the chat stream as well. Bakari, do you also have any other social media contacts? People want to contact you, or any other projects where people can reach out to you and kind of follow some of the things that you're doing?
No, not right now. You can follow me on Twitter, but Bakari45 on Twitter, but that's about it. And I appreciate being on the discussion tonight. I know we didn't have a lot of time to, we tried to unpack a lot of stuff here, a lot of things put on the table. I guess the few things that I would leave for people to think about is the issue of wealth concentration and in this country and what it means and what it has meant for people of African descent and people that were enslaved in this country. And think about wealth concentration today. Let me return to that topic.
Yeah, we are going to do that for sure. I think that Aurel brought up a good thing that we probably want to look at, and that is probably let's look at policies and procedures. Let's go down that path. And so the next couple of weeks, why don't we? I'm gonna start a new chat because the Christian got scared, and I'll have another. I'll try to bring in another Republican brother who was on Trump for a bit. I try to hit him up. He blocked my number, but he really didn't block it. Somebody I know from high school, people I know that I feel comfortable with, that I know that can have a meaningful dialogue. So I think prison reform and policies is something that we could look at. And so does that sound good to you, Bakari?
If he's a conscious Republican,
he's just another opinion, but I'm talking about the subject matter.
Oh, the subject matter is good.
Yeah, because we lost our Christian, man. We lost him, man. Didn't want to face it, and I would like to get in. I would love to dive into Christianity for our people, because I think Christianity, historically Christianity, is in a way a potential Stockholm syndrome from slavery, and I'm glad that people find solace and peace within Christianity and with any spiritual system, that they find it to be a better person. But I think that there's some outlier factors that might not be within their vision to see that could be influencing them and having them work against their own interests. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's just me. I just think I would like to explore Judaism even more and atheism. But we're gonna build this together, and we're gonna become brothers over the long term. And thank you for your time. You can find me at Afromations.com or whatever on our Instagram. And so I'm thankful for everybody. Peace and love. And, we'll see you guys maybe in a couple of weeks on a Thursday.
All right. Thank you.
All right, brothers. Take care, and thank you for peace and love. Let me shut all this stuff down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. There's a lot of windows open in this model.